Good evening and welcome to another episode of Apolitically Incorrect Guyana. My name is KIAN Jabbour and as usual, I am your host. My co-host, as you can tell, is not with me today, but I have I have a wonderful conversation. I'm sorry, I chuckle because I know so many viewers come on and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I feel about when KIAN Jabbour is on by himself, rambling to himself. And to be honest with you, I don't know how I feel about it either. But I have a really interesting show today because I'm going to hit some super interesting topics that have flew across me over the last week that I've been asked to address particularly. And I'm gonna first of all, I'm going to bring up a clip. We're going to jump right into it because I know the hour passes. I'm going to bring up a clip from last week's Freddie Kissoon show. And the reason I'm bringing this clip up is because Freddie himself has asked me to come on Monday to discuss this clip. All right. It's a clip of Joel Bagwanden's interview in which he's claiming that Exxon is backing Nigel Hughes as their presidential candidate in the 2025 election. So we're going to run the clip and we're going to chat about it. Go ahead, Robbie.
The government, and I'm not going to.
I think I just explained it all to you guys.
It's propaganda for Exxon, right? And there will be times when I'll be critical of Exxon. And on this occasion, you're now this is beyond that. You're now dabbling in our politics because your refusal, the fact that your country representative came out and said that there's no conflict of interest. That then signaled that Exxon is meddling in our politics and they have a candidate. And I wrote a series of articles outlining systematically why Exxon would do this. And the reason why is that they prefer a weak government. They like weak governments because weak governments, as was demonstrated in our case, they get their way. And I wrote an extensive piece on that. I talk about local content, how they oppose it. I talk about the gas to energy project. I talk about this GTI thing that they have. I talk about all of these matters. I was intimately involved at the very beginning. In one of my previous employment with a global firm that has an office in Guyana and also an office in Houston, was contracted by Exxon in 2021 rather, to lobby the government of Guyana against the gas to energy project and to impose a national development plan. Now I was a senior manager there, and I said to them, no, this is not going to happen. It's not coming through me. And I opposed it internally to the extent where I almost got fired, where my principals asked me if I'm working for them, for that company, or I'm working for the government of Ghana. I said, I am Guyanese first. So I brought out all these things that I was involved, not only privy to, but involved in an intimate way to demonstrate the fact what Exxon is doing by virtue of having this incestuous relationship with Nigel Hughes. He's their candidate and they have a strategy to hopefully make him president, but it's not going to work. It's going to fail. It's going to fail outright.
I have my Instagram followers here that I'm boring to death. But nonetheless, that video clip has big controversy around it. Now, again, I think we need to start with the basics. The first thing is, Joel Bagwanden is pro-PPP. He doesn't hide it. I honestly, I've never heard him say a bad thing about the PPP in my life. But what's interesting about it is he speaks from a position of internal knowledge. He claims to know how things are working and what's occurring. Now, what I find interesting about it is he claims that what he speaks is factual. And as you can tell from that video, he's very confident that, and he has internal knowledge that Exxon is backing Nigel Hughes. Now, this is two things that are, I think, need to be addressed here. The first thing is, if he is wrong about what he's saying, that Exxon is backing Nigel Hughes, and saying it with that much confidence, then what else is he lying about? that's an issue on its own. If you don't believe that Exxon is backing Nigel Hughes, then you are saying Joel Bagwandin is a liar. Now, if that's the case and you are a PPP supporter, I'm not sure what you're just gonna, I mean, here, I'll give it to you then. So you're just gonna claim he was wrong about this one? But he claims to have direct lines of communication with the vice president. All of what he says is parroted from the Thursday press conferences. So why is he wrong about this? Now, I actually am a person that thinks that Joel Bagwandin may be onto something here. I find it super interesting that Joel Bagwandin has used his internal networks, because he's just said in that clip as well that he used to work for ExxonMobil. That means that he maybe does have internal knowledge. So I'm going to trust what Joel Bagwandin is saying. ExxonMobil is backing Nigel Hughes to be the 2025 president of this country. All right, let's break it down from that point of view now. If Exxon is backing Nigel Hughes, the first thing you have to ask is why. Now, as a businessman, I like to believe that most of us understand how business, works. I run a very small, successful business. I make a profit. But Joel Bagwandin is claiming that Exxon has ulterior motives. Now, businessman to understanding ExxonMobil's business is that the first thing that's important to us in business is consistency. Now, I don't care if things are plummeting or increasing. As a businessman, I have to learn to adapt. Okay? I have to learn to figure out where the niches are, where the gaps are. How can I be successful no matter what is happening? And the best way for me to do my analysis is hoping that whatever trajectory or decline we're on will be consistent. As you know, in the stock market as well, people, make money when things are low and they make money when things are high. It's just kind of how business works. Now, Exxon can make money when things are low, but it has to be consistent for them to set their, projections up, know where to spend money, know where to save money, know what areas to invest in. It's just how it works. Now, ExxonMobil is looking for consistency. That is how they will thrive. If ExxonMobil is backing Nigel Hughes, it means that they see that something is inconsistent in the Guyanese economy and the political dynamic. Now, if I were to agree with Joel Bagwandin, which I do in this case, clearly ExxonMobil is thinking to themselves, we are foreseeing inconsistency in Guyana, and we have to help rectify it, because that's what will be best for our business. Now, what Exxon is doing, in my opinion, is they have realized that if we give all the power to PNC or PPP, we end up with a situation where clearly PNC was corrupt and doing a bad job, and they got rid of them in 2020. And now the PPP is in and being corrupt and doing a bad job. And I'm sitting here saying, well, geez, maybe Exxon is doing the same thing that they did to APNU. And I find that phenomenally interesting, because I tie it in with the reality of what the American government is doing to the PPP. Sanctioning government officials, questioning ministers, revoking visas of business people in our society that are involved in public corruption. Okay, that's the word they use all the time, just so you know. So clearly, there is unrest and an unease when it comes to ExxonMobil and the American government with the PPP government. And now, if you're telling me they're going as far as backing another candidate, which is Nigel Hughes, what are they trying to create? Now, I'm going to give you my political analysis here. If you look at the history of politics in Guyana, you will know that the PPP and the PNC control 90% of this population's votes. The 45% that vote for PNC and the 45% that vote for PPP are not going to change. We've seen it in 2015 when they hated PPP. All of society, we're done with the corruption, we're done with the victimization, we're done with the friends and family benefits. We don't want them anymore. We're going with APNU AFC. And 2015 election ran, and APNU AFC only won by one single seat. Now, fast forward to 2020, no confidence motion. We're done with APNU AFC. They're corrupt. We ain't want them no more. They're running the economy bad. We're done with them. The election ran, and as of things right now, when everybody hated APNU AFC, PPP are only in power right now by one single seat. Now, what that means is the bases of these political parties are not going to change, which means one of those two political parties are going to win the election, okay? One of those two political parties, the PPP or the PNC, are going to be the executive of this country, meaning the president and the cabinet. Now, what's even more interesting about that is, obviously, Exxon has all the professionals all around the world. They do analysis in every level, economic, political, social, every aspect. What they will have realized is that even backing Nigel Hughes right now for the 2025 election would only result in one thing, and that's a minority government. So are you trying to tell me that ExxonMobil wants a minority government in Guyana? And even more so, the American government? Because that is what Joel Bagwandin, a PPP mouthpiece, is claiming. Somebody that claims he's close to Barajagio, somebody that claims he's involved, somebody that speaks on behalf of them. What are you saying to me right now? That's the only two analysis. It's either Joel Bagwandin is incompetent and a liar, you decide, or Joel Bagwandin has admitted that ExxonMobil and the American government want a minority government come 2025. Which one is it? This is a conversation that I think you need to start to look at again, at the different aspects of what's occurring in our society, what the American government is continuously doing here in Guyana, calling out corruption, sanctioning business people, sanctioning government officials. You're watching it happen. So I find that very interesting. Why now? I'm gonna maneuver my way into a very interesting, relevant topic to the previous one, and that is, what could ExxonMobil and the American government be seeing happening in Guyana that will create inconsistency and then hamper their business? What could Exxon and the American government be seeing happening in society that is leading them to back a minority government? Now, I'm going to bring up a headline from today, which I find mind-blowing, and that's the foiled protest in Sofia. The police apparently have uncovered a protest that was supposed to be taking place. I'm going to bring up the headline. Go for it, Robbie. And, I'll turn the camera on and read it for you guys, so I don't bore you guys more. What it says is, it basically states that the police disrupt planned protest in Sofia on yesterday morning, in response to a protest that blocked Dennis Street and managed to remove. Sorry, what am I reading? I'll spin this around. Sorry, I'm trying to do two things at once. I'm just mad. Police intervened Thursday morning in response to a protest that blocked Dennis Street and managed to remove the obstruction, consisting of approximately 15 tires. The protest was allegedly orchestrated by 3 men on 2 motorcycles. One suspect was apprehended by the police and is currently in custody. According to reports, the tires were placed on the road in protest of the proposed teachers' salary increase. Police have been informed, and this is the kicker, police have been informed that teachers in the area may have financed the men responsible for this blockade. What do you mean the teachers have financed a blockade? What are we talking about here? The people that have dedicated their lives to nurturing our children have decided to finance a blockade and protest in which tires gonna be burned, and when you look at the picture, you got fire bombs and okay. Now I don't know what to say. This is ridiculous. A newsroom is where that was said. Newsroom is a government news agency. Newsroom is PPP. Newsroom don't say nothing else except for what Newsroom is just like Joel Bagwan did. They don't say nothing else other than what the PPP tells them to say. Are you trying to tell me that the government of Guyana, through Newsroom, is trying to turn society on our teachers? Do you think that is a socially responsible headline? Now, first of all, you have just decided all on your own that teachers is just like one group of people with one thought, like they only have one like train of thought amongst all of them. You didn't even write a group of teachers. You didn't even write like rogue teachers. You've just decided to say teachers have financed this protest. That's on an allegation? Have you arrested any teachers? This is wrong. This is wrong. This is what the government is trying to do to turn all these right-thinking Guyanese on our teachers, on our public servants, on arguably the most important people in our society. What are you talking about? Where do we live? What's even worse than that is the thought that it could be true. Were we living in the Hunger Games? I cannot believe for 1 second that the teachers would ever do this. And then even more so that a headline, a government news agency would write that as a headline. Now, let's just work on a tangent, because that's all we could do. Because bear in mind, I myself am making allegations on this topic, on this headline, much like the police are making allegations on the teachers. Now let's bring up the next headline, which is the teachers' salary rejection. This says, I'll just read it for you guys because I'm not holding that up again. Let's read this again. Jagdeo blames Coretta. So Jagdeo is running a political direction. One day after the Guyana Teachers Union rejected the government's 10% salary increase offer, Vice President Jagdeo declared that this rejection does not reflect the position of teachers. What a stupid statement. So, what do you mean does not reflect teachers? I don't understand. The teachers union is a body of teachers, a body that the teachers have elected. When they had the strike the other day, we know that 70% of the teachers did not show up to school when they went on strike. Now you're telling me that the teachers are not rejecting this 10%. That's not what all of them are. So why the teachers don't come out on the road and strike against the teachers union? This is just bullshit. How this is bothering me, that to read these headlines, to read these quotations from the vice president of this country, and then from Newsroom, a government agency. Now, I think what we're witnessing here now is obviously the government's attempt to not only facilitate unrest, but clearly looking to drive fear into people, even if the unrest exists or not. And this could be what Exxon is seeing. This could be what the American government is seeing. Now, if first of all, 10% is what the government is offering the teachers. You gave them 6% a year ago for the previous year, and now you're offering them 10%, knowing cost of living has gone up at a minimum of 30% and rising. This is illogical. That's facilitating unrest. When people get backed into a corner and get desperate, what's their other option? What else are they to do? I don't believe the teachers are financing civil unrest and protesting. That's madness. And I can definitely guarantee you all the teachers are not on board with that. I can also guarantee you that most of them are not on board with that. So to write those kind of headlines, you are asking for unrest. And maybe that's the inconsistency that Exxon is seeing. And maybe that's why they're backing Nigel Hughes, according to Joel Bagwin. Maybe that's something that needs to be pondered here. Maybe everyone, all the right-thinking Guyanese out there need to sit down there and say, wait a second, what is going on here? Not to mention, you throw little crumbs like the police corruption in there that the government is doing nothing about. You sprinkle the fact that they don't want no remigrants. They don't want any Guyanese living outside of Guyana to move back to Guyana, even though they have a big show for it. Clearly, we've learned that from the 30% that they just gazetted last week on remigrant vehicles. So they're not making life easier. So when you sprinkle all of these little things in there, blackouts, water coming through with pipes that are despicable, you clearly did see that the government really doesn't have any plans for our lives to be better. What they do have plans for, which is what they're going to sink their teeth into, is building roads. Don't worry, guys, progress. They build in roads. So now if you're telling me that they're building roads, and that is the progress that you are standing on, what's the plan here? What's the long-term plan here? Everybody must just starve until you guys think that roads are going to bring money into the economy? Everybody must just starve until then? No, that's bullshit. Because we have more money than God right now, as Biden likes to say. And the truth of the matter is, we can do everything. We can do everything. We can build roads. We can make sure we drop taxes. We can raise people's salary. We can facilitate farmers better. We can bring down cost of living. Everyone's lives can be great right now because we have enough money to do it. Now the question is, why aren't they doing it? Okay, let me tell you. Let me show you what they're doing. Let me show you what they're doing. So just before I bring up the housing, the single mother housing project, before I get into that, I'm going to tell you guys. We have watched the president scream about Silica City and his big plans for new developments. You can't even get the developments that we currently have right. Developments that have been designed phenomenally by the British and the Dutch, mind you. You can't even get these right. You can't even make sure these are maintained. You can't even make sure we got the electricity flowing through our wires. We have, I see them, by the way, I saw the conversation came up recently about another power ship coming in to Guyana because they're looking for 36 more megawatts. Do you know that we have over a quarter, over about 26% of our electricity is lost on something called line loss? What that means is all those shitty lantern posts and wires that we drive past that have got bush all over them and birds' nests and falling down, etc. Do you know there's 26% line loss on those? Which means all they would need to do is maintain those electricity wires properly, and we won't need a power ship. We could get all that electricity back into our homes and into facilitating the grid if they would just maintain what we have. But no, we are going to stand up here and think that maybe I should have confidence in them building another city. They can't do nothing with the one we currently got, which is fine, which is designed phenomenally, but we should trust them to build more. Now, I'm going to bring up a headline from last week that is making its rounds, and I'm having a good time with it. It's the single mothers master plan. I'll read this headline for you guys. What it says, I'll read it for you guys. What it says is the master plan developed for $6 billion Yarracabra homestead project. Yarracabra is up the highway. Now, the master plan for the homestead project, which blends low-income housing with agriculture, has been completed. President Irfan Ali announced on Monday. According to the Post, they name everybody who was attending the meeting, which is the entire cabinet, it seems. And then, according to the statement on the president's Facebook page, the project aims to empower single mothers and will commence shortly. It includes the construction of 500 houses and some 100 acres of land at Yarracabra. Let's talk about single mothers and agriculture projects up the highway. My mother was a single mother. I grew up in a single mother home. I have maybe about 6 or 7 single mothers that I employ at my business. So they work every day, on schedule, come to work. They're fantastic. I can argue they're probably the hardest workers. Honest, decent people that are just trying to make ends meet. These mothers live in nearby communities, nearby neighborhoods, maybe just outside of Georgetown, meaning not even, maybe Monrepo the furthest, maybe Diamond the furthest, and then in and around central Georgetown. Now they have young children, and what they have to do is they have to depend on their community and their family network to help look after their children while they earn an income to sustain their family. So when they're at work, depending on the age of their children, they may be at school, and then when they come home, because they sometimes they work in the day or in the evening. Maybe they come home from school, somebody, maybe their mother, the children's grandmother, maybe their in-laws, maybe their sister, maybe their cousin, somebody along the line helps them to raise their children, meaning picking them up from school, making sure they get home safe, making sure they know that they have dinner, etc. Or if it's the mornings, dropping them to school, helping where they can. So it's a community effort. Okay, they don't do it by themselves. All right, it's very difficult to do. All right, and that's how most single mothers live. With that said, they have to commute to work. They have to earn an income. They have to be paid a fair wage. They have to be able to not spend phenomenal amount of money on overheads in order to make sure their family can live as comfortable a life as possible. Now, we've decided that we're going to build a project and send 500 single mothers up the highway to Yarracabra, where there's little to no development, okay? And that's the entire highway corridor. The schools are atrocious. There's little to no security. This mother has to figure out how to travel all the way back to Georgetown to work because there's very little jobs up there. And now you're implementing 500 more up there. There's no stable water or electricity. They can't even do it for Georgetown. They're definitely not doing it on the highway. Security is always one of my main ones. Sorry, and then they're removing them from this family network where their sister or their cousins or their in-laws or everybody else lives around them. But they're luring them out with this idea of a house and then telling them, this group of single mothers, that maybe 10% of them have any kind of experience or knowledge in agriculture, and telling them we've given you agriculture land and saying y'all go plant farms and survive. Now, let's couple that with the fact that they don't have any access to income. Capital to even start a business. You just said in that article that it's low-income housing. No, I'm trying to spell this out for you here. I'm trying to list out how this is the most despicable project. This is... It's not just for... I spoke to Tim about it today. It's not just for political gain. It's not just for political headlines like what you just read on Newsroom. It's cruel. Tim is a key. This can't be politics. This is cruelty. They cannot think that they're going to get these women, these single mothers, to go up there and have a sustainable, comfortable life. What are we talking about? How is that possible? What farming project on the highway can sustain 500 single mothers and all their children? What are their children doing during the days? During the schools? What is the plan? 500 of them? And then obviously single mothers might have more than one child. It's not realistic. It's not sustainable. That's $6 billion that they just teeth in. That's craziness. And these are the people that can't get nothing right in Georgetown. The police force corrupt here. God only knows what happened when you stick 500 single mothers, vulnerable single mothers in a community. Who protecting them? When anything happen, which police they calling? The teachers striking, they didn't even give them 10%. They're building more schools. Which teacher's going to teach up there? What supermarket? What hospital? All the nurses. We ain't even got the Georgetown Public Hospital even working. They are such a... one of Anug's executive's wife is a doctor. She's on 24 hours call almost 7 days a week because they got no doctors, much less nurses. But y'all telling me that them people gonna go up the highway and build a community? Shh. It's not funny. It's bullshit. It's cruel. It's wrong. It's morally wrong. But they want to do this and pretend that this is for good of society? Bullshit. Not to mention with all these new roads building right here, Ogle to Diamond. And then Diamond up to you know, wherever, farm or wherever they're building it to. Why not give them housing there where there's already public transportation, where they can still come to work? And then give them their own homes. What are we saying here? We're trying to make the vulnerable more vulnerable? That's what we're speaking about here? That's what the game that's being played here? And this is the government that you guys says is caring? Look at the disgusting PPP comments. You don't believe them single mother got man? Who cares? Shut up. You're a nasty person. Shirley Narayan. That's disgusting. What do you mean if they got man? Why would you even say that? What, that's your defense of the government? That's the defense of this project? That's how your PPP supporters operate? That's how you blindly support the PPP and decide that don't worry, they got man? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you people? Stop supporting a government that would do something like this. This is nasty. This is cruel. This is wrong. It's sad. It's sad if nothing else. The plan is a systemic plan to displace legitimate Guyanese, cause confusion, to incite unrest, and divert from the corrupt government and the blatant stealing of taxpayers' funds. Here you have it. It's sad. It's sad. We've reached a point that this is happening. I'm gonna shift off of this right now because I know it's gonna come back. I must go on and read the comments on Facebook. They're fantastic. I'm just going to try to respond every now and again. And happy to know there are the few in between that are defending it, but it's just sad to see the PPP, you know, this is disgusting PPP supporters, like just nastiness, just supporting basically people getting poor because they're just uneducated and, you know, just don't care about anybody except for themselves. They're just as greedy as the government they support. So I guess they're just as selfish. They don't care about nobody except for themselves. They're just nasty people. With that being said, I'm going to bring up another issue that I'm having, because I know this topic is going to be spoken about again. I'm going to bring up the gold declarations. It's an interesting conversation right now because this country has been propped on gold and our extractive sectors, being gold mining over, since the beginning of time, since this country has existed. Our gold sector is arguably the most important sector in this country. It is what has sustainably facilitated our country's, growth. It's kept money circulating. It's kept foreign exchange in our systems. It's done a lot. It's done everything for the country. And then obviously promoted with agriculture, obviously. Now, gold has been the backbone. And what I found interesting is so many of these gold miners that have gone completely silent because, especially the big ones, that have gone completely silent because clearly they've been getting contracts from the government for other things like construction projects or, housing projects, road building. And they have just decided that they are going to fully join the PPP, although everyone in the gold sector knows that all the gold declarations have been down, mining has been taking a beating, and then coupled with that, the corruption that's involved and the American government now stepping in and stating all the smuggling that's occurring and basically putting a stop to the industry, the government of Guyana has just said, you know what, too bad for small and medium scale miners, basically become dependent on government contracts or oil industry. They're not encouraging any of them to get into agriculture, for example. So when I see headlines, I think it's gold price. When I see the gold price having reached an all-time high in history of 2,500 US an ounce, this should be the time that gold is flourishing. This should be the time that we have reached our gold industry is peaking. This should be the time that this country should be having money coming in left, right, and center. But that's not what's happening. This is not the case at all. The government is completely making us reliant on government contracts, building roads or bullshit housing projects, or the oil industry. Now, I'm going to talk about a very interesting conversation that I've been meaning to have for a long time. And people always are looking for forward-thinking conversations. And I keep complaining about all the garbage that's happening in the country. But I think every now and again, a conversation needs to be had on where the country is moving and where the country should be moving. Now, let me make a statement about where this is stemming from. So I just ordered the iPhone 16, okay? And why I did that, why I'm upgrading, is because the new iPhone is integrated highly with AI, all right? Artificial intelligence. And what the capabilities are of artificial intelligence is endless. Now, what we're watching happening around the world is the first thing that's going to occur is jobs are going to be lost. It sounds horrible, but it's reality. Embrace it. Meaning manual labor is not going to be a facilitator of the future. It's not going to be how people make money. So when it comes to construction, they're not going to need engineers anymore. All right? All this is going to be done, calculations are going to be made ASAP. We're already watching 3D printers building houses. Everything is becoming prefabbed already. We're watching much of the oil industry is very quickly going to lean into AI and then do away with all the expensive staff that they have, housing people, paying them big salaries, etc., etc. They're just going to need a few computer engineers, and AI is going to scan all of the equipment, is going to do all of the drilling, and all the machines are going to become automated. Now, even down to an industry that I know, which is the food and beverage industry, restaurant industry. What we're already seeing is biggest companies in the world, like McDonald's, have restaurants now that are completely without human beings in them. They take the orders, they cook the food and serve the food without a human being involved. Now, we are watching all of this happening. And if you want to sit there and say, oh my God, what's going to happen? And you're panicking, don't panic. Embrace it. Figure out that at the end of the day, it's going to happen inevitably. How now do you adapt and live to that? And integrate it into your life. Now, we have to start understanding that these two governments prefer Guyana to be stuck in the Stone Age. And their supporters like that because they don't like change. Their brains can't deal with it. But the reality is change has to come. And when I mean they want us stuck in the Stone Age, just to give you an example, our police records and systems are not even computerized yet. Meaning, in any country, anywhere in the world, the most basic tool that a police has, when he pulls you over, he takes your driver's license or reads your license plate on your car, and his police car has a laptop, and he just types it in quickly, and all the information about that person comes up, all their arrest warrants, their records, their outstanding tickets, all their information. That doesn't even exist here. Why? Because the government has chosen for it not to exist. It's not hard to implement. We got less than 1 million people. It's easy. All right? It's super duper easy. But they don't want that because they want us to live in chaos. They want the country to ensure that they remain in control. So when they break the law, oh, we could just do away with this. Or when they are in trouble, any systemization creates accountability, and they don't want that. So what I am saying now is, with the advent of all of this technology coming on board, we have to start changing, and this is on a global level, we have to start changing all of our political dynamic. What I mean by that, on a holistic level, is, I'm going to tell you my opinion is, I believe we have to start strengthening our social dynamics, our social capacity, our socialist aspects of politics. Now, what I mean by that is things like our health. So we're already watching phenomenal things happen in health because of AI. We're watching them be able to create bots, like these little nanobots that you can swallow, and it'll go into your body and it will literally use lasers and burn out the cancer cells. We're watching doctors from across the planet do surgery on people in another country with directing a robot. Now, our hospitals, our society has to get to this point. What that will mean, though, is that we're not going to need as many doctors and as many nurses. Now, where this comes into play is we're going to have to ensure that our basic needs in society are met. Okay? So, housing has to be free, not housing up the highway. Housing where people can be safe and comfortable. Okay? Food has to be affordable, okay? To the point where food will almost have to become free. It sounds rough, it sounds weird, but it's going to have to be what happens, because people will not be earning that same income anymore, all right? We're talking about security, all right? People are going to have to be able to, and I don't just mean security as in safe in their homes, but obviously we're speaking about, well, obviously social. So what comes with more time, what comes with less jobs, can quickly lead to social ills like, addiction and crime and so on. Those things have to be mitigated from the beginning. All right. We have to ensure that people are not needing for anything. This is what I'm trying to get at here. It's lots of thoughts that I've been playing with. So excuse my, haphazardness or ad hoc sounding, conversation. But the reality is we have to reach a point now where people are taken care of, and more so with their basic needs like education, health, food security, housing security. These types of social dynamics can't just be building a school or building a police station or building a road and saying, don't worry, we got y'all covered. No. It has to be to the point where they are working effectively, efficiently, and social dynamics are held in check while these changes are being made. Now, AI is going to do wonders for the world. AI is going to do wonders for Guyana. And I really hope at some point in time, the people of this country start to realize that we have to start embracing this on a whole different level. And understanding that our agriculture sector needs to adopt it now. And that is how we're going to bring down. So how are we bringing down food costs? There is a good example. It's mechanization, right? It's technology. All of a sudden, the AI will help to grow our vegetables cheaper, faster, more healthy, etc., and in larger quantities, with less manual labor required. So all of a sudden, everything gets cheaper, right? Maybe the initial capital cost will be more, but it will eventually lead to the end product being cheaper. And these are what we have to start looking at and start to figure out. I'm not going to sit down here and pretend that I know it, but have all the answers. But these are what we have to start figuring out in our society now. AI is coming, technology is coming 10,000 miles a minute, okay? And Guyana is not going to be left behind. The oil industry in itself is going to be wrapped up within the next 10, we got oil for 20 years. Within the next 10 years, most of the oil sector, most of the oil industry will be automated. 10 years, I want you to think about that. From 2020 to now has already been 5. Okay, well, coming up to 5 now. 2025 New Year's is 4 years, and then elections I look at the elections as 5 years away. So next year's elections, that's 5 years. That's how quickly that's going to happen. You can be scared of it, you can get anxiety, you can be worried, but you have to embrace it. And you have to start figuring out what the next steps are and what the next phases are for life in Guyana. I don't try to pretend that I can save the world, but we have a fantastic opportunity here because we have so little infrastructure and so little basis. We don't even have to go through transition phase. We can jump straight from this bottom level that we're at, straight to using AI and these technological advances to make our lives, to shoot our standard of living to the highest in the world. And that's what needs to be happening. All intertwined with maintaining our environment, maintaining our as little eco footprint as possible, maintaining our forests and basically everything that makes Guyana unique. Guys, on that note, I am going to cut off here. I know I only have a few minutes left, but I hope you guys can join next week. I'll have another guest on. And then I have a program that I'm going to be doing with Freddie Kissoon on Monday. So you guys, please feel free to join the conversation on Facebook and Instagram here. Thank you guys so much for having me. I have one thing I have to do. I promised Tim I'm going to start doing it. I'm going to try and do it on every show. I would like to invite Vice President Barra Jagdeo onto Apolitically Incorrect Guyana to have a decent, a formal conversation with myself and Timothy Jonas on various topics, topics that we can discuss with him beforehand that we would like to get more information on and have a conversation, have a political discord on. All right, I'd like to publicly make that invitation available to the Vice President. All right. It can go out to the ministers as well. All right. I do respect the president's office, as Tim said. I have to, because I said, why not invite the president? He said, you have to respect the president's office, which I completely agree with. But the ministers, by all means, more than happy to facilitate as well any conversation on the development of Guyana right here on Apolitically Incorrect. So please, the invitation is out there publicly, and I will continue to repeat it as much as I can. With that being said, I'd like to thank you guys for joining me. Please be safe on the roads this weekend. It's getting more and more dangerous. There is a lot of construction. I actually was over the river today, and they're doing a lot of construction over there. So please be careful on the roadways. There's not very good signage. Let me start there. Please, government of Guyana, do better with your signage. Jesus, it's so dangerous. You're just driving, and then all of a sudden construction, you don't even know what's happening. Right? Make sure that the contractors, they have to have a safety officer there that has to ensure that there's safety measures in place for the drivers. So please make sure that's part of it. Nonetheless, guys, please again be careful. No drinking and driving. Be defensive and get home safe. All right. My name is Kian Jabour, and as usual, I am your host this evening. Thank you for joining me. I will see you here next week. Take care.